Hello everyone, I'm Mr. Furlong, and this is your very first video of the year as we start Unit 1, The Nature of Science, and leading off will be the scientific method. You may have seen a poster like this maybe in your elementary or junior high classes where the scientific method is a list of steps like, what's my purpose? What research am I going to do? How do I make a hypothesis? And so on. But in reality, this is not how scientists use the scientific method. In fact, you might even say there's really no such thing as the scientific method. Well, that might be going a little bit too far. Let's look at a more realistic idea of what the scientific method is in science. So don't think of the scientific method as a step-by-step process. Think of it more of maybe like a cycle, if you will. So let's start up top here where the scientists will make an observation about something, or maybe they have a question that they want to answer. So we'll say form a question. Kind of went outside the box, but you get my idea here. So once they have formed a question, they may then make what's called a hypothesis. So a hypothesis is a little bit more than just a guess. Sometimes we think of it as an educated guess, but oftentimes hypotheses are going to have science rooted in why we think something. Once we have made a hypothesis, we might then want to test that hypothesis. So we're going to have to design an experiment somehow. Now, once we've designed that experiment, we want to make sure that it's controlled as for as many variables as we can. We'll talk about that in another video. But then we're going to test our hypothesis using that experiment. Now, once we've tested that hypothesis, we're going to have data that we've collected, and we'll want to analyze that data. Now, once we've done that, we might actually have another question that we have, and so the cycle might continue. Or maybe we've analyzed that data and we're going to revisit our hypothesis. Maybe after we've analyzed that data, we realize like, oh, that's not a very good experimental design. Maybe I need to change something. And so I change that experiment and I test my hypothesis. But that might then lead to new questions, or I come up with another observation. Or I might have to change my hypothesis. So now all of a sudden, it gets all messy as we start going from one thing to another just because of ideas that we have while we're going through this process of trying to come up with the answer to our first question anyways. Whew, all right, so science is messy. If you learn anything this year, that's what it is. So we're going to practice using the scientific method all throughout the year as you're going to be designing a lot of your own experiments and analyzing your data and hopefully coming up with new questions. And I can't wait to get started.